Why you Tesla gaining, why the stock is up, and why you're making money. I'm Brian. Welcome to my Tesla Weekend. Don't know if you noticed, it's been a good week. That's year to date. We're up quite a bit. Let's just look at the 5-day. That's still pretty good. 15%, 16% in a week. What's going on? Well, a lot of it is the Dow is up. And for that matter, the NASDAQ is up. 4%, not quite as exciting. Dow at 3%, maybe not quite as exciting as Tesla's 16%. So maybe there's more to it. Now, I should mention that stocks are rising with the job market staying hot. And the Dow had its best day of the year, up 1.1%. It's, I guess, pretty good. Yeah, we had a good, stronger than expected jobs report. 339,000 in May, with an upward revision for April. Doesn't say that here, but it did happen. And the Federal Reserve is likely to skip interest rate hikes at the next meeting. Should be pretty cool, I think. Certainly feels like it might be time to let this cool down on its own, as it were. But a rate hike would mean higher interest rates, which would mean higher car loans rates. Don't want that. No, you need the rates to stay low, because every time you increase the interest rates, it erodes buying power. Yes, and as Jeff points out, thank you, the debt ceiling compromise was reached. That is always a good sign. But the last bunch of debt ceiling negotiations all ended the same. All bluff and bluster. So what else could be going on? I don't know, but the S&P ESG Index family has said, yeah, we're going to include you. What is the ESG Index Fund? The idea is it's a giant fund that invests in companies that only have responsible governance. They'd been kicked out because apparently it was a joke. It was a joke. The company making mega packs to replace gas peaker plants and electric cars to replace gas cars. No, they're not good for the environment. Ridiculous. Some of these ESG funds increase by over $500 billion in a year and have done so before. Interesting. So Tesla's back in the S&P 500 ESG. And Alexandra shared her frustration. How come you didn't make the same hoopla this year on April 21st when you included Tesla back in? Much more catchy last year when you dropped them, right? Very strange. The S&P has absolutely forfeit their credibility. So what else is going on? I feel like surely there must be something. Well, Ford last week announced that they're going to use the Tesla charger connector, NACS, and it could kill CCS. Not globally. It's the standard in Europe and much of the world. But Ford's going to be using it. So Tesla has over 10,000 chargers in the U.S. Ford's going to be adopting it, and others have as well. While this may not mean the end for CCS, it is a strong signal that this won't be the end of NACS, the Tesla charger. Because we really don't need two standards. One standard's better. It's a better handle. We went over this last week. But last week when this news dropped, the market wasn't able to react. Maybe some of what we're seeing is this trickling out. And who will be the next domino to fall? Well, apparently, Freewire. Freewire makes charging stuff, and they are going to add NACS by 2024. That's only a few months away. So they're going to be adding it as well because they know it's not just Tesla. It's Ford and Aptera, should they make it to market. They use the NACS. And anybody else who should come along for the ride. Others will surely follow. The only question is who, how many, and when. And I think the answer is a bunch of them, and soon. That's my scientific guess. Other news, this Elon feller, he went to China. First visit since 2019 or 2020. It's been about 3 years. But what's he doing there? Who's he talking to and about what? This doesn't go away, by the way. Great design, NBC. Really great. Super long article. You could have fit that on a fortune cookie. Probably should have. Well, one thing that's going on there is Jamie Dimon, the chief executive of JP Morgan, has held a summit. And a bunch of big businesses came to it. We had Starbucks, we had Pfizer. We also had mining representatives. Geely was there. And while we don't know if Elon attended this summit, at the very least, he had the access to the people who were there. If outside of the summit they wished to meet, that's a thing that could have happened. We also know he met with the president or some high executive at CATL, the battery company. I imagine to cement their relationship. I imagine to discuss where the next mega factory, gigafactory, is going to go and get that sorted out so that they could have batteries ready in that location at the appropriate time. So this is kind of good news. And for that matter, they may be expanding factories there. There was talk of expanding the existing factory, adding one line, and apparently the permits were denied. Who denies permits? In China. I didn't even know that was a thing. I think it was political posturing. I think what they were trying to do was say, look, we really want you to bring more than one additional line. Can we get the Megapack factory? Can we get the whole new factory for the compact? We'd love to build it. And we do know from, who is it? Matthew Donegan Ryan on Twitter, the guy who had all the Tom Jew leaks from Investor Day, that the land adjacent to Giga Shanghai is available should Tesla decide to buy it. When I say buy, I mean lease it for 99 years. But that's all right. It's how property is done there. And then, of course, we've got him talking to the staff, to the factory executives, technicians, managers, workers. He showed a good face. He performed as a CEO would be expected to, and it went quite well. As always, he thanked the people doing the actual work because that's what he does. That's what he always does. So it is the sort of thing the market likes to see. But what about the next factory? I see Bill is asking. England? Canada? Australia. Yes, Australia would love one, but I think everybody would. Less dancing this time. That's unfortunate. I think every country would want one. Almost every. So is India in the cards? Apparently they were asked to submit a detailed plan in order to continue their negotiations. That plan would include an exemption on imported parts while a local supply chain is established. Now, we know that when Giga Shanghai opened, something like 10% of the car was made locally, with all the parts coming in from Fremont to build it, and other suppliers. And then within a year, it was up to 90%. That would absolutely happen with a factory in India. India's got all the local parts production they need to quickly spool up to fill this demand. The factory would, of course, be modeled after Giga Mexico, Giga Nueva Leon, so it would be building an affordable compact car for sale in very high volume, and presumably also to export, because it would be a right-hand drive country, and it'd be nice to have the ability to sell inexpensive cars in right-hand drive countries. Many of those are developing countries. So what happened? Well, a couple things. Investors see Musk's renewed focus on Tesla. That's good. China in particular. He did hire a new CEO to run Twitter. That's certainly creates the appearance of more time available. But there's a lot more. Shareholders see the stock rise recently from ongoing AI hype and its potential. But AI is very hot right now. I'm sure you've heard. It's been in the news kind of everywhere. All these stocks are surging. We've got NVIDIA. We've got all these companies. And short sellers have lost more than $13 billion betting against just 5 AI stocks. AI is kind of hard to wrap your head around. Maybe some people look at it as a meme, like meme stocks, like GameStop or any of the ones that get a little too much hype on social media. But it could be any number of things. It could be real. It could be the future, and increasingly it's looking like it is, because we're already seeing jobs lost and workflow shift because of AI, specifically ChatGPT. But the real reason that you guys are making money is because you're the experts. Yeah. When I go to events and I meet people, I didn't know what to expect before the first one. This was the first big one. This was in Texas a year ago. I expected people to come up to me with a million silly questions, and they didn't. They came up to me with a handful of very detailed, very pointed questions that were of exceptional quality. But for the most part, everyone around them had very strong opinions or outright answers. Because people who follow Tesla follow it very, very closely. I know people in the greater Seattle area who were big investors, big fans of Microsoft back in the day, back in the 90s, back during the dot-com bubble. And they were huge fans. They knew everything about the company. Well, I mean, they didn't know who designed what. They didn't know where it was made. They didn't know any key players outside the top maybe 4 or 5. None of that stuff mattered. And if you look at the other car plants, I would guess that everyone I know that I meet at these events knows more about what's going on inside the Tesla factories, who all the key players are, better than the analysts know about other companies. These analysts looking at Ford and GM, they don't know how many plants they have necessarily. They certainly don't know what goes on in each one. They don't know what the output is from each one. They don't know which factories will be ramping up next quarter and which will be taking a little hiatus. They don't know that. But you do, because you follow this very closely. So it makes for a very different kind of experience overall. So that is, it. That's my Friday. Yeah. So why don't we get into the Q&A? But first, let me thank my patrons who get early access, bonus content, and keep this channel running. I cannot do it without you guys. And it means the world. Well, there it is, and there you go. If you enjoyed this video, head on over to my second channel, My Tesla Live, where these come out every Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific, and we have a lot of fun. We get active in the chat, we answer questions, and you help me make it an even better story. So I thank you for that. So what did I miss? What did I misunderstand? Stay tuned, stay juicy, and I can't wait to hear from you clever robots on the flippity flop.